Hi everyone, and welcome to your daily oracle guidance. Now, today's reading, do believe that is specially meant for someone out there who is doing some kind of healing work. May it be a psychologist, a spiritualist, a guide, a trainer maybe, someone who works with people, someone who inspires people, someone who shares wisdom, information. And through this reading, the universe would like to offer you maybe a kind of guidance that you have asked for. And it is something which is going to matter to you very, very much, because this reading is opened in challenge position, the Nine of Air, which is a very, very heavy card. Just as you can see in the image, it clearly depicts the dark night of the soul. It clearly depicts depression and melancholy. And it mostly speaks about your distant past. It can also represent childhood. It can represent your teens, your young years. But of course, it's not limited just to those years. It can basically represent the basic feeling, the basic vibe of all your life. And you didn't have a very easy life. In fact, you had a very, especially emotionally and psychologically, a very tough life. This is where you went through so very many painful things. May it have to do with your family, in your family, your school years, or basically people around you. But either way, those were very dark times, and whatever you lived through basically broke you. It just shattered your soul. It just basically shattered your sanity. It traumatized you so very heavily that it took all your life to, get out of that bindweed, that psychological bindweed, to get out of those vibes, to get out from that frequency of deep suffering. But the thing is, this isn't something that actually dominated your life, dominated your existence, because very many people have absolutely no idea that you have lived through all of that. And even when you were living through all of that, you never showed it. You never ever stepped into the position of the victim. You never actually got any help. You never complained to anyone. Yes, of course, you couldn't do that because either you were too small or you just didn't have the conditions to reach out to anyone, but you didn't even want to because somehow you knew that this was your burden, this was your cross, and accept the universe maybe. Not anyone can help you, not anyone can change your life. And also, when you were very deeply immersed into this suffering, when all those things which hurt you deeply took place in your life, there were so very many days when you just wished to live the life of someone else, or when you just basically wished that you would never wake up the next morning. Those were really tough years, and it was like living psychologically in a meat grinder where it just shattered your being into million different pieces. Like you experienced different dimensions of suffering which you never even knew that existed. And of course it was like a massive chain reaction, because it always ended up with a nervous breakdown, with a temporary moment of insanity. And you went through all of that mostly alone. No one even knew that you were going through such painful moments. No one knew that you were basically one very small baby step away from demise, from just losing forever. And the cross that you had to bear was 2 times as heavy, basically 3 times as heavy, sorry, because not only you didn't communicate this, you never shared this with anyone, you suffered in silence, you accepted to bear your cross, but you also were there for other people while you were in your personal hell, and you had this immense power. immense strength to help other people, your family, your loved ones, even if they were the ones causing the pain. You helped others, you stood your ground, you lived your life with maximum dignity and never allowed anyone to see the victim inside of you. So that was such a monumental thing that it's a miracle, it's a living miracle that you are here in the present moment. But of course, all of this is just one side of the Nine of Air, because the other side is the year 2019, and this is where the nine comes from, which was a massive year of healing, of regeneration. Of course, there were purges and all of that, but all your life was a massive purge, so it wasn't anything that special to you. But the healing work, now that was so very difficult. That was so very painful because you had to relive everything, but it wasn't just like recalling the memory, but it was almost like going back in time and doing it all over again, where all your wounds were open wide and you were bleeding your consciousness out, basically. But you did it. You healed yourself. You regenerated yourself. Not only could you function better, more harmoniously, with much greater self-love and serenity in yourself than ever before in your life, but you were also your most efficient, your most strongest, your most stable version, and you did a lot of great things in this very short time. In the recent past, your repertoire basically is filled with big and very relevant deeds of compassion, of helping others, and everything that you achieved for yourself personally. May it be work-wise, may it be in any area of life, may it be spiritually or psychologically, you just can't deny that monumental titanic breakthrough that you have accomplished for yourself. But yet another layer of the Nine of Air speaks about the present moment, where this melancholy, where the sadness is returning to your life, but in a way which is so very unique, which is so very new, because it's not hurting you, it is not depression, it is not like an inner conflict. You're perfectly okay and harmonious with yourself. You love yourself, you love your story, but you still recall all of the wounds, all of the bad memories. So it's almost like the divine is guiding those old feelings, that old vibe, that old frequency back into your mind, back into your life, into your soul, and you just don't know why you're reliving it, because you're not reliving it in the present moment very painfully, intensely, or it's not a drama, it's not a dark night of the soul whatsoever, so you don't even know what it is, you just know that you feel it, that you remember it, and it's being brought to your awareness. But what purpose does it have if you already healed this, if you already done the inner work, if you already integrated everything into yourself? You don't know what's the purpose of this. You might think that, well, it has to do with the present moment, big global change and whatever is coming into the world. And partially, of course, that matters very much because a lot of people are afraid and uncertain. So, of course, you pick up their emotions, their states, the collective's state, basically. But you know that there is another layer which is very unclear to you in the present moment. And this is exactly the challenge of the Nine of Air, because this is almost like living a dichotomy, living a kind of paradox where you're healed, you're functional, you're stable, balanced, but also wounded at the same time, and you cannot imagine how or why this is possible. And the next card, the opportunity, the Nine of Fire, attempts to answer your question because it represents the opportunity. As you can see, it is a massive, energetic, spiritual and psychological awakening. And even though you went through this already, so this is child's play to you basically, still another layer of this is taking place in the present moment, this is where maybe the final piece of the puzzle is being placed to complete the big picture. This is like a final message, instruction from the universe, from the divine intelligence. It is almost like the universe handing you your diploma, that there you go, you did so very well on this big karmic exam, you graduated from this earth school on so very many levels and on so very many subjects, and your diploma basically is like a list of all your accomplishments, and the universe is inviting you to put everything into a massive retrospective and see just what you accomplished. And your first big accomplishment that it is inviting you to take a look at, well, it's holding a mirror in front of you, and it's inviting you to look at yourself. And when you look at yourself, well, of course you see that you're broken. Of course you see the stitches on your soul. Of course you see the cracks. Of course you see the traces of the trauma. Of course you see the massive shock that you have lived through, but at the same time you also see the miracle that it was impossible for you to make it. It was actually a big divine miracle that you're here in the present moment, and it's not that you're here, that's not the miracle. The fact that you operate, to function, that you're a person of infinite compassion in the present moment, now that is the miracle. Because on your journey, all throughout your life, the universe has sent so very many broken people just like you in your life for you to heal them or advise them or whatever, in any quality it sent them into. You could observe that other people who are even less broken than you, who were less wounded than you, maybe who had just a little scratch, took it as a massive drama and have turned poisonous, toxic, vengeful, sour, bitter, and you just couldn't imagine why they turned that way from such a minor wound when you were like full of daggers. Your heart had more daggers in it than blood, and you are still a compassionate person. You just couldn't understand how such a small scale pain or disappointment or disillusioning or losing one's faith can hurt a person so much and turn them into a monster, whereas you had your so shattered and broken that there was one point in your life when you didn't even think you had a heart, and you still had more compassion and love in it than people who claim to be epitomes of love, for example. So the universe kept sending these people as mirrors to you to see that compassion and dignity and equity is just a choice, and you made that choice all your waking life. And no matter how wounded you were, no matter how broken you were, it just couldn't defeat you. It just couldn't alchemize you into a monster, into a narcissist, into a vengeful spirit, into a wretched ghost who seeks vengeance all the time. It couldn't touch your soul. It couldn't touch your dignity. It couldn't touch your divine spark, even though other people would have never survived the pain, torment, and nightmare you went through. So where does this leave you in the present moment? Well, the universe is asking you to take infinite pride and joy in the fact that you're so broken. You know, there is part of you. You were always a very unique person. You were always a big visionary. You were always someone who embodied humanitarianism, but you had always had your specific way, your specific aura, your charm, your charisma. You were always a different kind of person to begin with, but after you had your wounds, after you had your life shattered in 10 million different pieces, well then it's not just your distinctiveness which you were born with that make you so special, but the fact that you're broken and stitched back together, that you were actually a phoenix dying, burning away into ashes, and then reborn from that, that makes you even more beautiful. So the universe, if anything, wants you to take infinite pride in your wounds, in whatever broke you, the fact that you are a little bit weird, a little bit sad deep inside, the fact that you don't like what other people like, that you don't immerse yourself in life's big or small pleasures, that you're very withdrawn, and all your weirdness in the eyes of the universe, that is infinite beauty, because that was the major goal of everything that you went through, to show you just how infinitely beautiful you are, and that no matter what fate brought in your life, no matter how hurt and stomped you were, belittled, broken, torn apart, it just made you even more and more and more beautiful, more and more sacred, more and more loving and divine. So that is a massive power, because the more hurt you absorb, the stronger you get, in not a tyrannic way, not in a toxic way, not in a very dark way, but in a very loving way. So the universe is so proud of its creation, so proud that it made you the way you are, that you have no idea what great amount, oceans of love it feels for you. Just that, we live in a quantic universe, so everything is like a big mirror, everything like is an action and reaction, and until you are ashamed deep inside yourself of your scars, of how unusual and broken you are, until you're ashamed to show your true face to the world, because you can be healed, functional, empowered, you can be a divine being and still be ashamed, and your shame is not anything, like a inner blockage. It is more rational, because 1,000,000% that other people can never understand you and your story. So why even burden them with the information? Isn't it just easier to put on the mask and just to smile in silence and to listen to them, to heal them without, even getting involved into your story? So your shame basically is not that kind of low vibe shame. It is just a tactical decision. But this is where you have all the reasons not even to be tactically ashamed of yourself, because your wounds, the fact that you're so broken makes you so beautiful and powerful and infinitely lovable. So have the courage to believe in yourself. Have the courage to show the world who you are without any censorship. Because if the universe is proud of you, if the universe sees you as its diamond, then why should you do anything differently? Why shouldn't you be proud of yourself? And as soon as you shed off that shame, well, then the 9 of fire gets activated, and your true awakening is going to take place, or better said, it's going to be completed. And once that does, you're going to become visible to certain people, certain beings, certain layer of this world, which is in the present moment still shut down from you. Because it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, it doesn't matter how enlightened you are, it doesn't even matter how, full of love you are. If you don't believe in yourself, in your story, and by this I don't mean in your, ego, not in your sense of identity, who you think you are, just believe in your soul. Just believe in your divine spark more than you have ever done in your life. Just know that you deserve all the infinite love of the universe, because you not only worked for it, but you have passed through the trials of fire. It is in like African cultures, when a young warrior has to prove itself, well, it sticks its hand or whatever into a basket of fire ants, and it has to go through the pain, the unbearable pain, and symbolically you did that. So you're ready, you're initiated, you're made whole and complete, and your broken soul, your fragility, your wounds are exactly your jewels, your crown, your noble garment. That is exactly your divine image, because one can see the wounds, one can see the crack and where you're patched, but one can also see what you've done with that. And what you have done with that, well, that is basically the mercy, the miracle of the divine within you. And once you fall in love passionately with your story, once you see the reason behind everything, once you forgive the universe, your human self forgives your spirit for guiding you into such a very, very painful life. Once you find this act of basically that final handshake, smoking the final peace pipe with your being, well, that is going to be the moment of your true awakening, and when a totally new facet of this world is going to be visible to you and you have access to it, and then it is when your true story is going to begin. And finally, the resolution is a 10 of water, and that is very straightforward. Emotional completion. You see the salmon from the ocean, they went back into the river to spawn, but spawning represented their demise, their death, and also the baby salmon spawned from their eggs, so the cycle of life continues. Your old self is already dead. The chapters to your past, to all the pain, are already closed. So let the water, the flow of the universe, the flow of time, the flow of energies, basically the water, wash over you and your life. Let it just wash away all the pain, all the suffering, and let your seeds of intention, that baby salmon, the little eggs that you planted into the universe, finally hatch. Your new life can finally arise, and that is when you're going to be in a permanent state of flow. And where do baby salmon go when they hatch? Well, they follow the course of the river and they enter back into the ocean, and the ocean is a symbolism of your state of prosperity, where prosperity doesn't represent anything material, just that you're more than okay, more than happy with your life, with your existence, and you shine your light onto anything and everything. So the 10 of water, the resolution, your new life is already there. It is already awaiting you. All you need to do is just embrace yourself with maximum belief, and then the waters of fate, the tides of the universe are going to wash away all the pain and suffering. And if your scars are your jewels, well, then you're already so wealthy, so prosperous emotionally, that your inner world is like a super massive star which can burn with the flame of a million suns, and that is going to lighten up our reality, our planet, even the whole galaxy. And once that happens, you are going to be so very grateful for all the wounds and all the trauma and all the pain that you lived through in the past. Well, thank you so much for listening. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day. Until next time, bye for now.